It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live here, it is Pro Football Today. It's Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. Take a deep breath. Take a break. All right? A lot of tension. Eagles.
Yeah.
Commanders.
He needs a massage.
Chiefs. Bills. Big football games today. A lot on the line. Some of us are already starting down the hole. So, let's talk some coaches, shall we? There were a lot of hires made since we were last on this desk.
Yep.
Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen, Ryan Schottenheimer, Pete Carroll. I'm going to give it to you, Lisi. Look at this. Look how nice I am.
Oh, you're nice.
Any hire you'd like, which of these hires grabbed your attention the most?
It would probably be Pete Carroll with Las Vegas, right? Because he wasn't really mentioned. I actually saw him for being mentioned for the San Francisco D.C. job, right? Before he actually took that. He wasn't really being mentioned. We had Cap on. We asked him about Pete Carroll. He was interviewing early in the process. He did come out and say he wanted the Chicago Bears job. We didn't think he'd be tied to Las Vegas, right? Yeah. We heard Ben Johnson. He takes that interview, and then all of a sudden they do a 360 and hire Pete Carroll. Do I think it's a bad hire? No. I actually think it's a pretty good hire. Brings stability back to the organization. I understand he's older, but again, I still go back to what Pete Carroll did in Seattle. Granted, the Super Bowl that he won was a long time ago, but think about when Russell Wilson left, and I keep banging this drum. Everybody thought Pete Carroll and that team will go down in the dirt. They had the worst preseason total at 5.5 wins. He overexceeded that with a journeyman quarterback in Geno Smith, back-to-back 9-win seasons. Couldn't elevate Seattle to a division contender, but still got this team within playoff caliber, fighting and berths, right? He did it his first year. The second year, they fought right down to the end of the regular season. I think it's a pretty good hire for Las Vegas. If he can hire the proper coordinators, get a legitimate free agent quarterback, maybe a quarterback like Sam Darnold, or even maybe his old quarterback, Geno Smith, maybe they can build it up. But from a coaching perspective, Donnie, even though he's older, I still put him up there above average of some of these younger coordinators that, were first-year coaches.
Yeah, I put the tweet out, and it makes perfect sense. It's like that aging musical act going to Vegas for one last pay. That's what he's doing, because there was a handshake agreement that says, boy, you are a really good coach. You've been around great players. You are a player's coach. We're going to stink for 2 or 3 years. But you're the perfect guy to guide us through this while we wait for Patrick Mahomes to get on the opposite side of his prime while Justin Herbert's getting kicking and Bo Nix. We want to try to be in the mix at that point. So for me, I thought it was a perfect hire because outside of Ben Johnson, which they tried to swing and hit that grand slam, and they couldn't. They understood this isn't about bringing a new up-and-coming coordinator. We're not ready for that. I don't care who that team is next year. They're getting smoked up and down the field. But Pete Carroll has been around a lot of winning programs. USC in college. He was a professional coach before that, then coming back to Seattle. And with John Schneider, they built one of the best overall rosters in the NFL for a decade with the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch. They won a lot of football games, probably should have had an extra Super Bowl championship if Pete runs the football, but that's besides the point. The perfect steward for this franchise to take them through the rocky waters, which they're going to hit the next 2 to 3 years until they get their quarterback and until Mahomes and Andy Reid are closer to getting out of Kansas City. Love the hire. Doesn't mean anything on the bottom line, wins or losses. They're not going to win, but I do like the hire.
So Pete Carroll in Seattle went 7-9 his first 2 seasons, and then went as above 500 11 of the next 12. And the one time he was under, he still won 7 football games. I would be stunned if that does not mean over the win total that will get booked here for them in Vegas. I don't think Pete Carroll is going to be like, yeah, no, it's all good, we can stink. I think sometimes you get coaches who just don't produce terrible football teams is probably the best way to frame it. And I think that then gets very interesting of what does this offseason look like? Because I was pretty high on the Vegas job because I thought that Tom Brady looked like he was going to be willing to use his sway and potentially extend his reach. Pete Carroll doesn't scream that to me. And now I wonder if Vegas at the quarterback position, drafting 6th, is the Sam Darnold team, or willing to pay Brock Purdy tons of money, or tries to Matt Stafford by hook or by crook, get him out of L.A. Nobody ever knows what Stafford's going to do. Trade for 2 out of Miami. I don't know. The Pete Carroll hire, to me, Donnie, does not say, calm waters, don't worry about the results, let's build this thing up. It says to me, and it's not surprising considering Tom Brady's the lead guy here, let's go now. Let's go right now, whether it's realistic or not.
It's not realistic, and they're not going to win. And he's, 73 years old, and that's why they gave him a 3-year contract with a 4th-year option at that point, where who even knows where he's going to be after 2 years. I just like it from the option of he's a coach and a player's coach. They're not a desirable, outside of living in Las Vegas, that is a horrendous job. Ownership stinks until Tom Brady got there. Tried to hit a home run with Ben Johnson, which I would have bought into that because he would say, I'm going to be here for the long term, let's go. But this is a team without a quarterback, the least talented team in that division. It's a terrible free agent class. There is no upside other than we just need a coach. Remember David Culley we talked about for Houston? Man, I'm going to make your dream come true and be a head coach. You will not coach after this year because we're going to stink probably, and you're going to be fired. I'm not saying that with Pete. He's supposed to be there to calm the waters, get them going in the upward direction, so by the next time they're looking for a coach, somebody goes, wow, they were right with Tom Brady. This is a good organization. I want to get in there.
Yeah, that's what's odd to me is I think your description of me reminded me of Culley, and I don't think I would be surprised, at least, if Pete Carroll produced those results. And I think it's odd when you hire – look, Pete Carroll looks like the youngest man in any room he's in, despite being as old as he is. Bill is also – Bill Belichick, of course, very old, right? For a coach is very old. But we know the succession plan in UNC. At least I think we do, right? With Bill – assuming things don't go bizarre, when Bill walks away, they'll give the job to his son, Stephen Belichick, which I think is a big win for North Carolina. A 40-year-old defensive coordinator who had a good success at Washington and has a ton of NFL experience. I feel like it's odd now, Donnie, that in Las Vegas you look at their coach hire and go, 3 years max. That's odd to me.
I don't even think he gets to 3 years.
That's odd. I don't – that. And it's probably because my perception of the Vegas job was much higher than yours and mostly anybody else's. That's what makes this so bizarre to me, Lisa. Like, we're now doing this thing everyone's talking about, look at the coaches in the AFC West, right? Reed, Harbaugh. Well, yeah, but Peyton does have his quarterback, we think. Harbaugh has his quarterback. Reed has his quarterback. So now I now think the timeline for Vegas is not take a deep breath, we'll get this right eventually. I think they're going to try and be competitive this next season.
You always try to be competitive, and I think Pete has that burning desire. It's an upgrade from Antonio Pierce.
Yes.
Right? They went that route of the interim coach, and they didn't do it with Bisaccia when Gruden was fired, right? They went a different route with McDaniels. It didn't work out. And now you have an opportunity to get I still think from a game plan perspective, from a mentor, tutelage, and coaching young talent, Pete Carroll can do a good job. And to Donnie's point, he is a player's coach. The younger players on Seattle still bought into him. Players like DK Metcalf, players like Kenneth Walker, right? And they're talking about potentially bringing DK Metcalf. And to your point as well, keep in mind, they went from Cully to Lovie Smith as well, which was a Super Bowl coach. I'm just saying each of them had 1 year. So you can never say never, but I still think it's an upgrade to have this type of head coach here where they're searching for answers prior to that.
What I think will become interesting is what does this team do at offensive coordinator?
Huge.
And I think the last time that was he the one with Schottenheimer? At some point he had Schottenheimer. Who's now the Cowboys coach? We'll get into that next right here. It's Pro Football Today.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, Joe Lisi, Donnie right side of him, Kevin Walsh. The NFL coaching carousel spun quite a bit this past week. I think Pete Carroll going to Vegas is a noteworthy hire, and you can have differing opinions. And then there's what the Cowboys did. I haven't found anyone who has been complimentary to the Dallas Cowboys hiring their offensive coordinator from this season in Brian Schottenheimer. And I will tell you this, is it is a disappointing thing for me to see. The Cowboys were one of those teams that I was already checking out when we talk about next year's markets. The Cowboys are routinely booked as one of the 6 best teams in football. They had an atrocious year. We know that. But if they got the hire right, a lot of talent was still going to be there. And no surprise, the most unbiased man in the history of sports media actually was going to look at some Cowboys tickets. I can't bet on Brian Schottenheimer. That's crazy. Now, that's nuts. How the Dallas Cowboys were so fine to bring back McCarthy that they brought back his OC to be the coach. How did McCarthy ever walk out? I don't even understand what I'm seeing here. We were on the desk. I'm not even bringing this up as like a gotcha. You guys are like, I'm telling you, they're going to bring in Dion because Jerry wants the lights. Brian Schott, I don't even... Yeah, you know, like, what?
Yeah.
Even if I didn't think he wanted the lights, I didn't think he was going to do this.
Right.
Does his phone not work? I don't understand. This is insane. Nobody thinks this is a good move.
No, nobody. But Jerry does.
Does he?
Yeah, he does.
Because Donnie's made the point, like, you don't really do the, hey, look who our coach is at 10:35 on a Friday night. Like, usually there is a legitimate rollout.
He could have waited until the Eagle game to see if they won or lost and got his former offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, if he didn't want to take Dion. I mean, come on. I'll say this. You can't talk bad. It's blasphemy if you talk bad against Jerry Jones and WKRP in Dallas, right? We don't work on that network. The old man's lost it. Let's be honest. He has no way, and he does not care about winning now. He doesn't. And the fact that he was thinking about keeping around a gutless head coach and Mike McCarthy that couldn't get his team over the hump, got blown out in back-to-back playoff games. I mean, come on. What are we talking about here? He doesn't care about elevating this team. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't even care now, Donnie, about revenue, because if he cared about revenue, he would have hired Dion, which would have been the biggest show in the NFL. He would have had more memorabilia and everything sold. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not that Schottenheimer's the coach. It's the fact that he was the offensive coordinator when he wasn't calling the plays, and it was Mike McCarthy. So if you like that offense, you let McCarthy go and you keep Schottenheimer, who wasn't calling the plays on game day. But also understand this. Jerry must be listening a lot to not the fans, obviously, because they're going to be furious, but the players on his team. Hey, do you like this guy? Is it fun? Of course, Dak Prescott is going to say, yes, I don't want to change playbooks again here. Just keep the same guy with the same playbook and a different twist on it. I promise you I'll be healthy and I'll play good football. They haven't been to an NFC championship game, let alone to a Super Bowl, since the mid-1990s for the Dallas Cowboys. And then you are right about this. Whenever you want good news out there, you leak it fast. You make it known it's going to happen. If it was going to be Dion, they would have had that way ahead of time out to as many beat reporters as they could find. And Kevin, while we were on a show, tweets at a Dallas beat reporter, like, hey, you know, it's going to be Schottenheimer. Looks like they'll wrap it up by Friday. They already knew they were going to have their head coach 3 days before that. And the Dallas Cowboys put a press release out on a Friday news dump, which was insane, which shows they're hoping that news cycle goes through. It's the AFC-NFC championship game. Sure, they're going to ask us questions, but boy, oh boy, they might forget about how angry or hot they were the minute Schottenheimer was hired.
Well, it's the old stock release. Release bad news on Friday, release good news on Monday. I would have taken Pete Carroll for the Cowboys job.
Anybody.
I mean, anybody with a pulse, Kev.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. If you're a Cowboy fan, are you excited? I know you're both excited because you're talking about potentially 5 or 6 wins with a gutless Cowboys team. Let's be honest. I mean, Mike McCarthy was supposed to elevate this team to the pinnacle of the NFC, something that Jason Garrett couldn't do. Couldn't even do that. You lose as a 6.5-point home favorite to Jordan Love, first-year quarterback under center, and you get blown out in your place. Now you got his former offensive assistant. I mean, come on.
Honestly, if I'm Jerry Lowe and McCarthy ends up with that Saints job, I'm taking them to task. I'm hitting them with every tampering fine under the sun. No, because this is there's one job left. Clearly, McCarthy had the Dallas job if he wanted it and turned it down. This is nuts. It's like if Mike McCarthy doesn't end up with a head coaching job, he's one of the biggest fools in football. Because he would have just passed on the Cowboys job and not have a job.
He was a fool when they took the Cowboys job. Like only the Cowboys would make that move.
No, I understand that. I'm talking about Donnie.
What did he ask for?
But you know how like Kirk Cousins, people are like, wow, that guy knows how to get a bag?
Yeah.
This will be one of the greatest bag fumbles in history of football if Mike McCarthy ends up working back at Pro Football Focus. I mean, No, that's what he did. He came in. He's like, I'm telling you, I
learned
learned
analytics last year, which he didn't.
And then he's like, we got to get Zeke the football here on 2nd and 7. That's why I still think McCarthy gets that Saints job. Joe Brady's pulling out. What a beast! I can't believe he's not getting. To me, the best coordinator available doesn't get a job. Insane.
He'll have his pick though.
I
Who would
understand.
go to the Saints?
To me, I just thought that they should have offered him a deal he wasn't going to turn down.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right? I mean, he did the interview, right? He was interested enough in it. They gave him a 10-year deal. I think he would have taken the job. People think I'm not even serious. I am dead serious. I would have given him a decade contract and said, don't worry about it. I also would have made him the coach if I was the Cowboys. Also, Deion clearly told Jerry no. Now I am fully convinced.
No, he did.
No, I am fully Donnie, hold on. You think Jerry had the choice of Deion or Schottenheimer went this way?
Yeah, because he was
no
like,
way.
And eventually now it looks like he was thinking, like, if I bring Deion here, it's not even my football team anymore. I can't even tell Deion what to do at this point. Let's go to Schottenheimer. Brian, sit here right now. I'm going to call plays a couple times a game. You okay with that? Sure thing, boss.
I'm telling you, the only way I would believe that Deion didn't tell him no is if Deion said, need a favor, little, listen, put me out there, get a couple extra dollars out of Colorado. This would be great.
Yeah, but the Colorado, they pushed back on Deion for that. They got very mad that they
wanted more NIL.
Right, looking for more leverage. But there's no way. Donnie's right. Jerry needs the spotlight. You have a polarizing coach. He needs a patsy. This Schottenheimer's a patsy.
The spotlight.
Take him down the plank.
The spotlight comes from
over the
winning.
edge.
Jerry looks to be the most loyal man in football. Oh, it's crazy.
Stay the course.
Sports Millions pick him next. Let's talk some running.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's swing it back here. Take a look at the Sports Millions pick'em. I got him.
That's good.
Sports Million pick'em options right here. It is Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie right side, and Joe Lisi. The Sports Millions pick'em. We've been doing this throughout the postseason. It's become one of my favorite things. Let's grab these quarterbacks. Let's go higher than the rush numbers. Let's figure out the confidence level, though, when it comes to each quarterback. Let's start with the highest number at the quarterback position. and it belongs to Jaden Daniels, higher than 54.5 rushing yards. What is jumping off the page to me with Jaden Daniels, regular season, 6 yards a carry. Postseason, 3 yards a carry. I know he has, I think it's 4 kneel downs in this postseason for -7 yards because one of them was much longer. That does not make that much of a difference when you look at his attempts, ultimately. And you know he kneeled at some in the regular season. He's not had a number of long runs, Joe, for some reason within this postseason. I tend to believe that could flip today. Too explosive of a runner to not have at least some, hey, I've got multiple 20-yard runs in a game.
Yeah, and when you think about, the stakes of this game going, obviously to the biggest game on the national stage, you want to try and take the game over, and it's a pretty good look to go over his number, higher in terms of his number today. It's just what type of defense, how do the Eagles try and attack him? Because they played a lot of man-to-man coverage in the last game, and he was able to contain a ton of running lanes in the fourth quarter that allowed them to pull that game out. And again, if they play that type of recipe today and utilize blitz packages, Jaden Daniels could have that in the first half, Donnie.
And it's the only way you can look at it, because, again, the majority of the handicaps coming in this football game are he has to play his game of the year, which doesn't sound like 12 carries for 16 yards. I just did a couple quarterback sneaks at this point. So I completely agree with that. We talk about quarterbacks in big games having to use their legs, and it is surprising because this isn't one of those lumbering quarterbacks like a Dante Culpepper. Right. Let me just get 7 yards and get down. This is, I have a lane. I might go for 30 or 40 yards at this point. So you are never going to sell me going against Jaden Daniels by saying we can't go higher than his number.
Yeah. Well, then let me ask you about the quarterback on the other side, which is Jalen Hurts. This is a number, is 30.5 rushing yards. You can tell is moved because of the injuries. And he got banged up against the Rams. What his mobility level was in that game is kind of tough to tell because they did call multiple quarterback rollouts post the play where he was injured. He ended up a full practice. We'll talk to Doc later on in our show. But 30.5 is, it's not just lower from where it was last week. It's so much lower, I think, than where it would be. Let's not forget how the game started. A 44-yard rushing touchdown from Jalen Hurts. Let's not forget what Jalen Hurts did when he last saw Washington. He had 40 yards. What did he play? 6 plays? Yeah. I mean, that number is impacted by the health, Joe. I think he's higher than the 30.5 rushing yards. How do you feel about it?
It's still a good look, again, because you have a quarterback that's going to utilize his legs to sustain drives. If the game is on the line, the push is always in the equation to get a couple of extra yards to make you go higher than the 30.5. And to your point, when you watch the last game that they played against Washington, it was Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts in the first half of that matchup. And again, they rushed for over 200 yards. So it's a good look. I don't put a lot, Donnie, into last week. Yes, the knee is obviously a concern, but it was still a wet track going laterally. I don't monitor that. I think he go higher than that number.
He can, and it feels like it's going to be such a boom or bust spot at this point, right? It doesn't feel like he's going to get to 26 or 27. It's either he's going to do something where it's 13 or 14 yards or 50 or 60 yards, because you're right. One play last week, 44-yard touchdown rush. You figure if he's healthy the whole way, who knows what that number could have been. But for me, I'm looking for him to get involved a little bit more, but I do think that number is right. Like last week, I got the number at 37.5 with a healthy Jalen Hurts that he hit it on the one rush in the first quarter. It's one of those where I don't know how much volume it's going to be, but I do think they're going to be called runs for Jalen Hurts if he's able to function in the pocket just to keep the defense sound. What are you asking for there? One of those runs or a breakdown of the pocket, 12 or 13 yards, then you're on your way.
Mahomes would be higher than 23.5 rushing yards. Allen, 46.5. Of the two quarterbacks, one number more interesting than the other to you?
Mahomes, just because he's at home, and we've seen in these games him just contain, take a game over.
I think Josh goes. I think he's like, this is my legacy game right here. Really.
It's interesting, but I'm wondering if it's like a broken clock theory. Like eventually I'll get this Josh Allen rushing yard prop to come in.
For 20.
What in the world? All right, we'll keep breaking it all down with you right here on SportsGrid.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFC selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here on SportsGrid, and I want to take a look at these quarterbacks a little bit more, the options that are available today, and I think we should get into the Hurts numbers a little more specifically. Such a big conversation around Jalen, regardless of health, the passing totals. Then you bring the health into the equation, and it changes the tone a little bit within this football game here. The passing prop's been rising throughout the week, Donnie. I know it's something you have been targeting. So tell me how you feel around Hurts, the low passing volume, and how it relates to today's game.
And again, it does correlate in a way, because Joe's talked about multiple times. You're going to look at some of these Eagles wins during the season and be like, well, he never throws for under 180. He's done that multiple times. But sometimes circumstances are going to dictate whether or not you're playing a very good defense, whether or not you have a running game that hit 2 home runs in the first quarter and it's c'est la vie the rest of the way. But I just look at that number, which was as low as 174.5 to open the week. Now, also keep in mind, some books are trying to protect themselves as we don't really know how healthy he's going to be. And if he's not all that healthy in the pocket, that means you can sack him quicker. He's going to throw the football away as opposed to being able to hang in there, manipulate the pocket, and make those deep throws that we've seen him make multiple times this year. But for me, it just seems too low against a defense that can be had in the secondary. You're asking me to take a look at Dallas Goedert playing in this football game, Devonta Smith, and A.J. Brown, and saying they can't accumulate 180 yards passing in a game that I do think gets around 50 total points. I don't buy it. So from a value perspective, I think I'm getting the low ball. Used to be like, 220, 215, 205. 179.5 is where I got that number. That draws the line for me, Joe.
Yeah, I think the game flow last week, too, was for them to just attack L.A. on the ground. That was very evident with the RPO game with Jalen Hurts breaking off the first run, right? That was the game plan. So we always talk about styles making fights. And again, I still think he could get through that number today. I mean, we're talking about an NFC championship game. You win, you go on to the Super Bowl. You lose, you go home. And the season was a huge disappointment knowing that you dominated for basically almost 95% of the season, right? So, again, I like A.J. Brown to step up. But, again, I was looking, and we were talking about it in the conference room. I like him to potentially get to 2.25 today, right, at plus 205. I mean, again, there's no bad weather in the sense of we don't have snow, right? There's not a lot of wind. It's cold. Okay, both teams are used to that. And we saw Jared Goff put up basically 300 yards through the air on that secondary. So who's to say he can't, even if he's limited in some capacity and he's throwing underneath, he could get to 200.
My thing is, and I know that this is where I am on an island, Hurts can get to 200 or 225 any game he wants.
Yeah.
What's to me what is happening with the Eagles is stuff that we've seen happen in the NBA, in that a team is winning not in the way that people want, so they are only then focusing on that. Where when this team starts shooting all those threes and they go, no, live by the three, die by the three, it's never going to work, we lost the art of the mid-range jumper. People are upset that the Eagles don't shoot mid-range jumpers, that they don't go out there and throw the ball, because that's what they're used to. That's the easy way to grade football teams. How good's the quarterback? They're great, right? We spent the whole year. Cincinnati, man, I'm telling you, dangerous as it gets. Why? Because Burrow's lighting it up. Most people don't even know whether the defense was good or not. Listen, I'm not even doing the thing. When people are picking today's game, well, Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback. Give me Washington. That's all they're doing, right? That's what's going on here. The Eagles have the best rush offense possibly in league history. That's what they have.
Yep.
Lane Johnson's a Hall of Famer. Mailata's an All-Pro, and on the interior, it's Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl.
Right.
Jalen Hurts is one of the 5 most mobile quarterbacks in football. Saquon's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. And people are obsessed with passing. So then we go into a game against Washington. And Washington is, by far, no close second, the worst run defense that made the playoffs. They were 3rd in rushing yards allowed per game. Nobody else in the bottom 10 made the playoffs. 3rd in yards per carry allowed on the season. Nobody else in the bottom 10 made the playoffs. And we're still sitting here wondering, hey, you think Jalen can step up today? He doesn't need to, man.
Right.
He does not need to throw for 250. If you tell me he threw for 275,
right.
I need it. What happened?
Right.
That's odd. That doesn't make sense. Why would a team get outside of itself?
No, it's a great point. I mean, I commit. What was it? NBA fans get upset because they're not winning the way they should. Sort of similar to Kansas City, which we've had on this.
No, it's a style of play.
Donnie knows that.
It's not.
I mean, we expect Pat Mahomes to light it. He's winning with defense.
Pat is winning. Okay, no, that's fine. That's what I'm talking. No.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, so we can shift. We can absolutely. No. We can make that shift. We're talking quarterbacks here. My frustration is with what you, of course, accidentally walked right into. Mm-hmm. Pat is winning with defense. That means nothing.
Turn it on and turn it off anytime.
No.
He's a 2-time. He's a 3-time Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Is actually insane.
Well, he turns it on.
That phrase.
He turns it on anytime he has to.
Okay, so explain.
He's the best modern-day quarterback that we've seen.
So with that also.
And
right?
if Jalen wins today and wins a Super Bowl, we'll be talking about Jalen in the same way.
No, we won't.
Why not?
No, we won't. I've already seen it. People will say, yes, they'll say he's one of the worst quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl. We'll hear that. So no, we won't. You can keep trying. No, we won't. When it comes to Mahomes, he might play great today. Nick Foles was great for 2 straight games. Conference title, Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. But it does not then mean we have to do revisionist history about who or what Nick Foles was, right? We don't have to. What Mahomes has been this year is a quarterback who at no point has played like one of the 5 best. He might have a great game today. In fact, he should. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
He should have a great game today.
Okay.
But he's winning with defense. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense at all.
Again, he's winning with defense, and he's playing well within the scheme and the game flow. And when plays need to be made, Pat Mahomes steps up. And we can make the same assessment on the flip side to your Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Is he doing it flashy? No. Is he winning? Yes. Is Jalen Hurts a winner? Absolutely. He was a winner at Alabama when he was 26-2 as a starter. He was a winner at Oklahoma. Didn't win a national championship, but he elevated his game to a Big 12 championship and led his team into potentially a college football playoff appearance. It's the same thing. Jalen Hurts is a winner on the NFL level. He's engineering an offense and a team that has won 14 games in the regular season. I mean, again, does he need to throw for 250 today? We'll see. We'll see the type of game that Washington brings. Is it going to be the type of game that they played last week against Detroit, where they want to push tempo? Or is it going to be more like the first game where they want to sustain drives, milk the clock down to 0, and keep Jalen Hurts and Saquon on the sidelines from limited possessions?
Yeah,
that's ultimately it.
I think they're going to play up-tempo in this game, but just looking at all four quarterbacks, you look there and see Jalen Hurts, anywhere between 190 to 193, depending where he's shopping. Patrick Mahomes has some numbers at 259.5 and 250.5 at some outlets. So even some people are struggling where we should place him. But for me, I'm with Joe. If you give me a game script style that says, Patrick, go out there, we need a couple touchdown passes, just don't turn it over, let our defense handle it. He's done that well. I don't think he can do that today. So I'm buying. If you're saying, Donnie, what quarterback are you buying today more than any other in the passing game for yardage? It's actually Mahomes.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? But that is, to me, again, the theory of you can just turn it on whenever you want. But then he is a buffoon and should just end games in the first half. That's all. That's then what a great player would do, right? Why would he? Man, you see how Pat won that game with that blocked field goal against Denver? Oh, what a win by him. That doesn't make any sense. You sound insane. I'm talking about the way the Eagles.
I didn't say he won the game.
You said Pat's winning with defense. That was your phrase, your sentence.
Rolling.
That was you. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Chief.
More spotlights on SportsGrid.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. We're talking through kind of some of the quarterbacks here, talking through some of the skill position players as well. I want to ask you guys about Travis Kelce. Again, as far as turning it on, Mahomes did not do that against Houston, unless you're insane. Kelce did. Kelce was excellent within that football game. Kelce is also now the second or third option, depending on where you're looking, to once again lead the postseason in receiving yards. Any expectations for you guys from Kelce? Some Longer shot options there heading into today's game?
I wouldn't back Kelsey. That doesn't mean he can't step up, but because he stepped up with a huge performance last week, I don't want to go back to him because, again, I think a lot of the money will go on Kelsey today, and I don't want to be there. I want to be on secondary options like DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, maybe longest reception for both. I think both of those players can eat anytime touchdown, I think, for both of those players as well, but that's the way I would play it for Kansas City. I do like Noah Gray, Kev. I didn't take Gray in the receptions or receiving. What I did take Gray was anytime touchdown. So I did pair him with Dalton Kincaid in a parlay today.
Yeah, I think he plays really well today, to be honest. And I know from Joe's point of view, it's almost like, boy, we could have bought in at maybe that 52.5, 55.5, maybe 60. Now he's up in that 70 range. But the one thing we've known about Travis Kelce and that offense is once they get to the playoffs, that offensive passing game seems to just go through him. And we always joke about the same thing with Washington. Man, just take away Saquon and see what we can do with the rest. Well, again, they're going to say, let's take away Travis Kelce like they always do. But it looks like that extra week, actually it was 2 weeks here, where he didn't play football and then got the bye week. He looks really refreshed. And what's stopping him, I don't know. And again, this is a defense that doesn't defend all that well against tight ends and or the passing game. Why can't he shine today? Why isn't another 5 to 6, 7 catches on there, 60, 70, 80 yards to put you in that realm, and also a chance at an any touchdown market? I don't have any bets on him right now at this point, but I wouldn't hesitate to say that number is too far gone. What he's shown in the playoffs the past couple years is when those lights are bright, I'm brighter. I'm ready to go.
With then on the other side of the field, and one of the storylines for Buffalo throughout this season has been, well, who's their guy? Shakir's been the lead guy. Mac Hollins catches touchdowns. But James Cook also has stepped up. You know, you could argue if you were to give out a game MVP for Buffalo versus Denver, it could belong to James Cook. It probably would have gone to Josh, but it kind of gives you an idea of the season James Cook has had. Are you guys looking to back, fade, Cook? What do you expect from him? And how much rushing do you expect from Buffalo in a game like this?
I think they'll rush, but again, I'm backing Cook in the receiving game. I told you, 25 plus plus money. I think it's almost 2-1. I like James Cook to go through. And you look at the performance again last time they played Kansas City, he stepped up. He got a lot of targets from Josh Allen. You could go receptions. I'd rather go yards. I think, you look at the receptions and the targets that he got in terms of the short game, that maybe goes into that bet. But I still like the yards. If he's going to potentially get 4 or 5 catches or targets in this game, he gets 1 or 2 catches, he could break it 20, 30 yards. That's the way I'm going to go. But if we're looking receiving options, I told you I like Cooper. But tight ends all year, we talk about it. Dalton Schultz got to 60 last week against Kansas City. They have problems covering the tight end. Now, is it going to be Dawson Knox, which always seems to be the security blanket for Josh Allen in playoff games, or Kincaid? I would opt to the younger Kincaid. I also like him anytime touchdown today. That's the way I would attack it. I don't want any Shakir, any Keon Coleman. I'm taking a shot. Cook, also Cooper and Kincaid.
Yeah, I was looking at the tight end position for Buffalo as a chance to maximize, and you probably want to go with the younger, more athletic guy as opposed to Knox at this point, so you'd lean towards Kincaid. But I looked at last week and I said, I don't know how much success Mixon is going to have on the ground against Kansas City. He had a lot of success last week. So I do think that pathway to victory does include a lot of runs here for James Cook. Also include, when you're looking at it, if you could tell me, a lot is like for Saquon Barkley, 27 carries. You tell me Cook gets 14 carries today, he's going through that number. Because the chances are that he's going to bust a 10 or 15-yard play out of getting 10 or 12 carries is good. And I expect 4 to 5 yards per carry here. So me watching Mixon run well last week against Kansas City in a closer game, when you know that passing game and more athletic quarterbacking here from Josh Allen is going to open up that running game more, I would be buying into Cook props. I think he has a good day.
He has not gone consecutive games without a touchdown this year. He didn't score last week.
Yeah.
40 carries in 2 games, 23 and then 17 last week. In the regular season, he only had 17 or more carries in a game 4 times. So you're seeing that postseason usage elevated. Does that continue today? Books maybe not believing it as much. 14.5 when you look at the rush attempts number price there on James Cook. I think it becomes interesting. If we are talking running back props, you just have to acknowledge the Saquon numbers. 125.5, numbers coming down, 122.5. So some more Joe money must have clicked in. When you look at the long rush number, 24.5. I should have just played that 19.5 last week and then walked off and left it at that. I mean, he obviously smashed it. 24.5 is also his rush attempts number. Saquon Barkley, DRS, being booked in a stratosphere that you rarely ever see.
And again, the funny part about it is you don't see people's first stance at the beginning of the week is like 125.5, no shot. They're like, let me think about that a little bit. Like, that's usually a number that you would just bet under. Like, if you saw, let's just say Patrick Mahomes was rolling 379.5 today, you go, I think he can get it, but if that's a perfect run to do it. And it's the same thing with Saquon. As I joked about to start the show, Joe, Saquon Barkley gets 21 carries for 92 yards. That's a really good day. Yeah. But then we're going like, well, it's Saquon Barkley. What happened to him on that day? Did he get injured at that point? That is a lot of yards. I'm not saying I'm betting over it because I won't, and I'm not saying betting under it, but I won't. But there's no way I'm looking at this bet saying that number is so outlandish based on what we know where it's like, he's got 30 yards, 40 yards. Now he's up to 91 because he just hit another home run. And you can't say, like, hey, previous two, they've done a pretty good job against Saquon. No, they haven't. He's torched this team.
Like Barry Sanders, right? Yeah. Back in the day.
2 yard loss, 2 yard loss,
right.
50.
Right. He gets stronger as the game goes on. That's the other thing. Look at the games. I mean, the game against L.A. At the end of in the regular season. Fourth quarter, he's busting off 70-yard runs. He did it again last week. So, and we also saw it in terms of the first victory in their first-round matchup. So you can't say he can't take a game over. If he has success early, they're going to continue to feed him.
The thing is, Saquon is not getting through the 125.5 without a run, most likely, of 25+, if not multiple runs of 25+. I think that would be the number, and it doesn't really exist, is 2+ runs of 25+ yards or 20+ yards. That would be more tempting options. Let's talk about some of the best options. Let's talk about our Sunday morning crunch next here on SportsGrid.
It's Championship Sunday. Can rookie sensation Jaden Daniels clip the Eagles' wings on his way to Super Bowl history? Then, two teams that know each other all too well face off in the AFC in the Bills and Chiefs. SportsGrid has you covered all day Sunday. Start at 7 a.m. with FST, followed by Pro Football Today. And stay with us for in-game live game day. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid. It is time for the Sunday morning crunch. Let's get right to it. Sunday morning crunch on a Sunday morning. Exactly
Beautiful.
how it's intended to
Beautiful.
be, Joe.
Wish there was some breakfast there. I'm starving.
What would you eat?
Probably some eggs, avocado, maybe a little oatmeal. I need something to bulk up before big game at 3 o'clock.
How about a bagel sandwich?
No bagel.
No? Bacon, egg, and cheese?
It's a classic.
Maybe a little almond.
Would you rather
butter on
sausage, egg, and
whole
cheese or
wheat
bacon,
toast.
egg, and cheese? I was more of a sausage, egg, and cheese guy.
I was for a good while, but a place near the house now, they're making the bacon sandwich, right? So we've been going that direction.
Yeah, okay.
Should I give out the address?
Yes, give it the address. Meet us there.
A little meet and greet. All right, Lacey, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to the Commanders side in game number 1. Shocker, right? I mean, I like the Commanders to win the game. Zach Ertz went under his number last week, had 29 yards. I actually think he breaks out. His number today is 33.5. Last time he played against Philadelphia, had a good performance. Again, if Philly does take away the deep option with Terry McLaurin underneath routes, I think Zach Ertz can eat in terms of this matchup. So give me over 33.5. In terms of the late game, we talk about having Amari Cooper. I understand he didn't have a catch last week. He's been limited in terms of the offensive productivity. But when you see a 13.5, 17.5 total on Amari Cooper in terms of back-to-back weeks, it's too low. That's one catch in terms of a big matchup. Josh Allen, I think, will distribute the football to multiple receivers today. So give me Amari Cooper over his number. And then D-Hop. You talk about DeAndre Hopkins. He was in the 40s the past couple of games. 23.5 is a cheap number. I think he breaks out at least 40 or 50 yards today, guys.
You're going to need him, so I'll go right to mine, too, with DeAndre Hopkins over 2.5 catches at plus 110. You're just banking on that veteran wide receiver in a game that it's anticipated being in the 40s, or excuse me, high 40s to low 50s, at least for a total. He's got to show up here. He's been there all year for Kansas City. I know his role is diminished, but you're just asking for a buyback in an ultimate low spot, so I think he can grab 3 catches here. And also, we talked about earlier, Jalen Hurts over 179.5 passing yards. He's going to have to step up to the plate. He's going to have to hit some deep shots. He's going to have to maneuver from the pocket. If his legs aren't 100%, which we'll find out a little bit later, but for me, it's just too low a number. If he throws for 155.5, so be it. But I expect Jalen Hurts to be at least around 200 yards to cash in that ticket today against a defensive secondary that, yes, I continue to say this, can be had. Final pick there, A.J. Brown correlation with Jalen Hurts. He's a big-time wide receiver. It's 4.5 catches. We're not in the snow. We're not in a game play where the Packers can't move the football. I expect him to be involved early in this football game. I wouldn't be surprised to have 2 to 3 catches in the first quarter alone. Over 4.5 catches, which means 5. That's a plus money number at plus 100 today. Buying low on a lot of spots for me today, Kevin.
The receptions market for AJ is probably the spot where you feel like you actually are buying low.
Yes.
It's like, I want to bet his longest reception. All of a sudden, it's 24.5. It's like, well, hold on a second. I thought they couldn't complete a pass. Where I do think you can buy low on Jalen Hurts is 40-plus passing yards in the first quarter at minus 110. When you look at the game against Green Bay, finished 6 for 9 for 39 yards. He did complete his first 6 passes in that game. Narrowly misses. Only had 31 yards against the Rams in the opening quarter. There was over 100 yards of rushing touchdowns in that quarter for Philadelphia. And the Devonta Smith play where it probably would have been about a 50-yard grab and said it was a roughness call against L.A. Took some yardage off. This spot is very similar to the Pittsburgh spot, and all Jalen did to open that game was go 8 for 8 for 101 yards. That is how he started, 104, excuse me. That's how he started that game. I don't know if he starts that well, but he starts it well here against Washington. In the game between Kansas City and Buffalo, you know I like a lot of passing in this game. Some of the pass catchers I'm identifying. Noah Gray, longest reception, over 10.5 yards at minus 120. Certainly 11.5 works as well. Last week, Gray, snap count-wise, behind really only Kelsey and Worthy. They've trusted him throughout the season. I expect them to trust him again. Last week saw the usage, 3 catches on 3 targets, but 16 yards. Didn't have that explosive play. Very rare to see Gray get that type of work. So even if we lose some work this week, he can make up for it for more explosive play. Look for Noah Gray to have a long reception of at least 11 yards. And then look for Keon Coleman to go over 20.5 receiving yards. I really like this Keon Coleman number here. Coleman in the postseason so far. 1 catch in each game, both the catches for 5 yards. In the regular season, he averaged 20 yards a catch. Only 1 game in the regular season did he have 21 or more yards. He didn't catch a football in that game. Coleman explosive today. Don't be surprised if he bangs through alts and has multiple big catches here for Buffalo against Kansas City. That's your Sunday morning crunch. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we talk to NFL insider Adam Kaplan. What is going on in Dallas, New Orleans, and what do we expect for today? All next here on SportsGrid.